Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with the Spirit of Truth. This book that came to life in 1960 to 61, 60 years ago, and brings to us today new perspectives. Today, a special spirit, probably one we've never heard before, comes to us through the hands of Chico Xavier to lead us into new understanding. He talks about decisive tests. His name, Pedro Lameira de Andrade. We have a fuzzy picture here of him in my background. So let us connect with the good spirits because Pedro Lameira de Andrade, through Chico Xavier, he was born in Rio de Janeiro. He discarnated in São Paulo. He lived quite short life, only 58 years old. And he became a spiritist, especially after one of his daughters discarnated, and he was really upset. Since then, he dedicated himself in São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro in Brazil to disseminating spiritism. He was friends with Milton Pacheco, who was a physician and who helped much and gave a message here. So he helped much in Brazil and he thought about education. His dream was to open schools like Euripides Barçanufo's school, in which children would be educated in a different way. Today, from his vantage point, from the spiritual realm, he comes to you and to me to talk about something that is so much important. So here we have it, and I'm going to get the gospel because it just escaped me. He's going to be inspired by chapter 5. Blessed are the afflicted. Which of us is not afflicted, right? We're all afflicted somewhat during this pandemic. But item 9 is about evil and its remedy. He says, Saint Augustine talks about the fact that evil has its remedy in itself. What remedy, therefore, is recommended for those who are attacked by cruel obsession and excruciating ills? Only one is infallible: faith. Turning your gaze towards heaven, if in the turmoil of your cruelest suffering your voice would sing to the Lord, the angel at your bedside would show you the sign of salvation, the place you will someday occupy. Faith is the sure remedy for suffering. Point. St. Augustine talks so much. Chapter 5, item 19 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. But today, Pedro Lameira de Andrade, comes to tell you and I about our complaints. He says, you complain against a misfortune that visits you in despair, without constructive reaction, facing the hours of struggle. They spoke to you about the Lord and selfless learners who followed him in the first hours on the path, bordered by tears and sacrifices. Yet you want to share his peace and live with less effort. But almost all the great figures of humanity in all ages and in all peoples have gone through the time of decisive tests. Isn't the pandemic a decisive test for us? Yes. So he observed Cervantes became paralyzed of his left hand and was arrested under the accusation of insolvency, but surpassed the injury and bequeathed the treasure to the earth's literature. Palissy, Bernard Palissy, experienced poverty, and at some point, he needed to burn his furniture to have enough heat to sustain his own life. And in spite of it all, he achieved the perfection he desired in his ceramic works. Shakespeare felt himself in such great penury, one day setting fire to a theater taken by despair. But he overcame the crisis and left unforgettable masterpieces in the world. Victor Hugo was in exile for 18 years, but he never abandoned his work and laid his physical body on the ground of his homeland under the admiration of the whole world. Faraday, as young man, was compelled to serve as a blacksmith's assistant in order to pay for his own studies. But Faraday became one of the most respected physicists in all nations. Hertz faced a huge lack of resources and was a magazine seller to support himself. However, he overcame difficulties and became one of the greatest scientists worldwide. Likewise, amongst the Spiritists, the condition of terrestrial existence has not been any different. In France, Allan Kardec suffered for more than a decade insulting sarcasm from most contemporaries, but he was never discouraged, giving to posterity the luminous asset of the codification. In Spain, Amália Domingo Soler, in full forces of the physical forces, she tolerated the torment of hunger. She was poor and she became blind. But she never doubted the divine providence, consecrating herself to the Spiritist works in immortal pages. In Brazil, Dr. Bezerra de Menezes abdicated the flashes of human politics, and in spite of the position of illustrious physician, he exited the earth in extreme material need, which did not prevent his elevation to the title of apostle. For such reason, do not let yourself be overcome by obstacles. Humble resignation, mixing tears and smiles, longings and ideals, consolations and hopes, edifies invisible halo of glory on the individual that is displayed in waves of sympathy and happiness. When your life is transiting through the valley of affliction, remember patience and keep working, trusting and serving with Jesus. What a message. What a message for you and I. In decisive tests like this one, when you and I are faced like what everybody else is, because we are humans, we tend to think that people, when they are doing good deeds, they're so protected that nothing's going to happen to them. Look at Chico Xavier. In the upcoming issue of the Spiritist magazine, at the very end, and I'll briefly share with you a case that happened in Chico Xavier's life in 1948 when he was 38 years old. And this is written in a book by the famous Brazilian journalist, Marcel Sotomayor. He says that Chico Xavier, when he was only 38 years of age, he was living in the city, his birth city, Pedro Leopoldo, and he was there by a mount, admiring the city with a friend. But Chico Xavier never wasted time. He always added the beauty of the works, of the works of the good. So he brought pen and paper, pencil and paper, and his friend Isailton and Chico sat down and he started psychographing poems by Dias da Cruz e Souza, a poet from the beyond. Suddenly, they heard steps coming along from nearby, and they saw this tall man, red eyes, with a stick at hand, looking like mad, like a madman, coming towards Chico and his friend. His Chico Xavier's friend stood up for defense, and Chico said, "Wait up, let us pray." So Chico stood up. left the psychography on the floor, and he started praying. Suddenly, the madman looked at them, seeing that light. And he said, "There's a light on your leg, Chico. There's a light on your leg. There's a light on your leg." And Chico kindly said, "My dear son, please turn around, go back home and sleep." And he did. But when he was going back home, they observed that in a radius of 5 meters, and forgive me for not giving you the amount in inches or feet, but 5 meters, radius of 5 meters, the whole grass, the bushes were stepped on. Isailton didn't understand. After the men left, Chico Xavier explained that thanks to the good spirits, it's always the good spirits. We think, oh, it's me. No, it's always the good spirits who are giving us mercifully a break. They enveloped them in light, the light that came from the very handwriting, the psychography. Chico Xavier used to say that these books emit light when we open, if we could see them in the spiritual realm. In the book Memoirs of a Suicide, we learned about the illumination of the letter sent by Mother Mary to Jerônimo. So that light emanated. But what about the grass that was stepped on in a radius of 5 meters? 200 obsessors took, in Chico Xavier's words, this powerful medium, this man who was not educated in his mediumship, but was going to be used to assassinate Chico Xavier and his friend and throw them in the local river. They didn't succeed, thank God. Why we're sharing this with you? Because Lameira de Andrade is asking you and I to humble ourselves, to go through our things, but never give up. Patience and service with Jesus, he says. Trust in Jesus. Keep working. So you and I today are being invited by Lameira de Andrade through Chico Xavier to feel the faith in us and to visualize our homes in true harmony and never give up working towards the good. Friends, we have a wonderful proposal. Let us meditate on these great missionaries of the earth who had the mission, but they had their challenges, but they never gave up. Who are we to give up if we still need a long way to redeem ourselves? Faith, keep working together. We're not alone. You and I are together. I feel it every night. This current of healing, the love that comes from your hearts, from all of our hearts together, emanating to the world. Good job, friends. And if you listen to this during the day, you are part of this task force. Wherever you are, you're lighting up a torch during this program and after and before the program. Wherever you are, we are patient and servant of Jesus on the earth. This is our exercise. We thank God for the opportunity of being here. We thank Pedro Lameira, Chico Xavier for the opportunity, and may we go through these tests and humbling ourselves, but trusting God always. Thank you, friends. A big hug, and until tomorrow, God willing.